Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, very different.
We're skipping the usual geopolitical reports, the market analysis,
All of it.
and focusing entirely on one single, really extraordinary piece of digital real estate. Our sources today, they're not standard reports.
No, they're the official marketing and valuation documents for a domain name. Asiaxement.com.
And if you think that sounds a little dry, just wait.
We should probably just get right to the price tag. That kind of anchors the whole conversation.
It really does. The documentation from the seller, sourcing, gives a catalog price, and it's incredibly specific.
Down to the dollar.
$3,051,703,739 US dollars.
The $3 billion URL. So our mission today is pretty clear.
Yeah. We have to unpack the claims they're making to justify that. We're treating this not as a website, but as a digital strategic asset.
Almost a quasi-sovereign entity. And the core claim they make right up front really frames it. It's designed to represent Asia's expansion, execution, and cross-border responsiveness.
That phrase, cross-border responsiveness,
Yeah.
that's the key, isn't it?
I think so. They're not just selling a business address. They're selling a digital flag for regional influence.
Okay, so let's just break down the name itself. Asiaxement. It's very stylized.
It is, and they've infused every letter with some pretty high-stakes meaning.
So what's the architecture here? How do they build this billion-dollar brand?
Well, the structure is pretty foundational. You start with the geographic anchor, right? Asia.
Obvious enough.
And then the sources identify the action component, what they call movement or engagement.
Which suggests it's not a passive thing. It's meant to do something.
Exactly. But the key, the real hook, is that letter X.
Ah, the X, which is everywhere now.
It is, but they give it 4 distinct meanings here. It's supposed to signify expansion, exchange, execution, and next generation.
Okay, I have to push back on that a little there. For a $3 billion valuation, how can they claim the X is so unique?
I see your point.
I mean, it's become a bit of a corporate cliche, hasn't it? For everything from tech products to social media rebrands.
That's a really fair point. But the argument they make, and this is the clever part of the pitch, is that its power is actually in its ambiguity.
It's ambiguity.
Yeah, and its scalability. By defining it so broadly, expansion, execution, all that, it lets the buyer, whether that's a government alliance or some decentralized platform, project their own mission onto it.
So it avoids being too specific, like Asiaxement or something.
Right, that might feel tied to just one industry. This is a conceptual umbrella.
So the buyer's paying for the ultimate umbrella. The document says it's for operating beyond traditional institutional boundaries.
Precisely. And that phrase is essential. It leads right into the core strengths they list. They claim it's memorable and brand ready.
Which is subjective, I guess.
Very. But more importantly, they say it's international by design, so it works across cultures in Asia.
And the last claim is the biggest one, that it's future-proof, suitable for emerging tech and new governance models. How do they even begin to support that?
Their argument is that because the name isn't tied to any current technology, doesn't have AI or blockchain in it, it can't become obsolete.
And new governance model. What are we talking about here?
Things like digital regulation, maybe regional digital currencies, global data standards. This domain is meant to be the neutral digital headquarters for whatever comes next.
That idea of being future-proof and for new governance leads us right to the why. I mean, who needs a $3 billion digital headquarters?
And the answer is in the 5 strategic application categories they laid out.
Right, and this is where it really moves from marketing into geopolitics.
It really does. The first category is focused on cooperation and alliances.
So like Asia-wide coordination platforms, economic alliances.
Exactly. Imagine this as the digital home for major treaties or regional economic bodies. It has to project credibility and scale from day one.
Okay. And the second and third categories get into the tech side of things.
Yeah, innovation ecosystems and communication.
Innovation, meaning?
AI, Web3, and digital governance. It's meant to be the infrastructure for the new digital economy.
And communication isn't just a news blog.
Not at all. They're talking about media, influence, and global communication hubs. A central nervous system for managing a regional narrative, projecting soft power.
That's a critical distinction. They are literally selling influence. And the last 2 categories define who should own that influence.
They explicitly target institutional use. The document says institutional, para-institutional, or sovereign-grade projects.
Sovereign grade, that's a powerful term.
It suggests the projects are on par with national government initiatives. Para-institutional could mean massive nonprofits, standards bodies, entities that operate at a government level without being one.
And the final one is networks, for decentralized or hybrid international networks.
The message across all five is crystal clear. This is for strategic, institutional ownership only.
It's not meant to compete with Amazon.
No, it's meant to coordinate the global landscape they operate in. And when you look at it that way, the price tag is reframed. It's the entry fee for a perceived strategic monopoly.
So if this asset is meant to be a sort of sovereign command center, the buyer needs infrastructure right away. You can't launch a billion-dollar strategic alliance and then tell everyone to wait 6 months while you build a Twitter following.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And the seller anticipates this, which brings us to what they call the included digital infrastructure.
Meaning it comes ready to go.
Exactly. It's delivered with a fully established social networking presence, so immediate activation.
The practical side of the deal. The buyer avoids that initial audience building delay.
Right. And the documents list the core channels, Facebook, YouTube, and X, all consistently branded Asiaxement. It's like a fully furnished, ready-to-move-in digital headquarters.
And this is where we found that one detail that just makes the whole thing so wonderfully absurd. It pulls this massive abstract valuation right down to earth.
Oh, yeah, the technical warning.
Right. In the notes next to the link for the X profile.
It includes a small warning. Some privacy-related extensions may cause issues on X.com. Please disable them and try again.
Just think about that. You are buying a domain marketed as a quasi-sovereign asset.
Meant to guide the next generation of digital governance.
And the seller has to remind you that you might need to turn off your ad blocker.
It's the perfect little detail, isn't it? $3 billion buys you strategic influence, but it does not exempt you from basic IT troubleshooting.
Okay, let's talk about the money itself. How does a transaction of this size actually happen?
Right. This isn't an eBay sale. The financial scaffolding has to be incredibly robust.
And while we've been calling it a $3 billion price tag, that exact number, $3,051 million and change, it demands a really secure process.
And the documentation is very clear. Secure payment must be made via escrow.com.
That's non-negotiable, I imagine.
Absolutely. It protects both the buyer and the seller.
And they specify a 30-day escrow holding period, which is standard, but the scale here makes it significant.
It really does, because the asset is so conceptual. It's a domain and some social links. The security of the transfer is what lends credibility to the whole thing.
And the seller, Sourcing, they've set up all the channels for due diligence. There's a subdomain with more info, a phone number, an email.
They're operating as if they're selling critical national infrastructure, which, in their view, they are.
So let's get into the heaviest terminology in the documents, which is this section on its strategic asset status. This is the core intellectual claim behind the price.
This is where it all comes together. The valuation shifts from purely monetary to strategic. The document states the asset can be positioned as a digital strategic or quasi-sovereign asset.
That term again, quasi-sovereign.
It implies the owner will wield power on par with, or maybe even in opposition to, traditional national boundaries.
So it's an asset designed for long-term institutional or strategic ownership. It's an investment in a future monopoly over a conceptual territory.
And this brings us to probably the most cryptic detail in the entire source. The document says the asset may qualify for perpetual island exchange mechanisms.
Perpetual island exchange? What does that even mean? The sources don't explain it.
They don't. It's just, it sounds like some kind of high-stakes financial engineering.
So we have to infer.
Yeah, we can infer that it's a framework that treats the domain as an asset with perpetual utility, maybe like a sovereign bond or an ultra-long-term license. It's explicitly not meant to be flipped for a quick profit.
It reinforces the seller's whole argument. This is an institutional purchase, not a gamble.
And it reflects that shift we talked about at the start. Digital assets are being valued as critical infrastructure. The price isn't based on what a business does now.
But on the future influence and strategic control it grants the owner.
Exactly. Control over things like AI regulation, cross-border data, and defining the entire regional narrative. The $3 billion is a bet on the future importance of conceptual real estate.
And that brings us to the close of this really unique deep dive. We started with a staggering number, over $3 billion.
And we ended up talking about the evolution of digital sovereignty.
We saw how the seller took a geographic focus, technological readiness, and just this huge institutional ambition and packed it all into a single brand.
A brand targeting the very entities that define regional power and governance.
It really forces you to acknowledge that in this landscape, owning a URL can mean owning a mission statement.
And if we connect this all back to the source material, the claims of quasi-sovereign asset status, the connection to AI, Web3, global governance, it raises a final provocative question for you.
Go on.
If a domain name is explicitly designed to operate beyond traditional institutional boundaries, are we moving towards a future where digital sovereignty is exercised not by traditional nations, but by the financial and institutional entities that can afford to purchase the $3 billion digital infrastructure required to coordinate it?